Guys, we're on such a roll with the podcast this week. I feel like we've had so many good episodes. Today's another one, I hope. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Jasmine Garnsworthy. I'm the host of the Female Founder World podcast, and I also facilitate the workshops, which we hold a couple of times a month. They're free business skills workshops, and they are run by founders who are absolutely killing it in their businesses. So if you're interested, you can find out more about those on our Instagram at Female Founder World. But on to today's show, I'm speaking with Lindsay Holden. She is the founder or the co-founder of a company called Odele. They're new-ish, I guess, but they're Stockton Target now. And essentially, Odele combines clean formulas, cute branding, and affordable priced hair care. I hope you love the episode. Let's get into it. Lindsay, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I like to just kick off by inviting all of our founders on the show to really tell us about what they're building in their own words.
All right. I'm one of two co-founders who started Odele Beauty, and we are a clean beauty brand positioned as Masstige at Target. And so we looked at the mass market and we saw this gaping hole for products that met our high standards for performance, but also were clean and inclusive and frankly shareable. And so we are building a beauty brand within hair care that addresses those needs at mass.
And what were you doing before you came to this business idea? Where were you in your life?
Oh man, well, it was definitely a journey. I was at a large corporation most recently before leaving. I was at a retailer working as a merchant, and I got to a stage in my career. Well, I guess like being a mom was a huge part of it. I had three kids, still do, but the oldest one was about to enter kindergarten. The youngest one was about to turn one, and I was wanting to be more present, knowing it was time to figure out what was next, and not necessarily having the capacity to do it while working this 40, 50 hour a week job. So I left with zero plan whatsoever other than to give myself some time and space to hang out with them and also figure out what was next.
Very cool. And so how did the idea come to you?
Sure. Well, I've always had, I've had a lot of ideas, right? I just haven't always taken action on them. And I guess I'd back up even further to my experience before that. I met one of my now partners in business school, and the two of us worked on a few projects together, realized that we were really had compatible, like we were really complementary, our skill sets to each other. And we both, out of graduate school went in to work for large companies, CPG, retail. And we always kind of had that bug, like we could do something together. We should do something together. And so honestly, it was over the course of, I think, over 8 years. We'd kind of come together at different points in our career when one of us was transitioning into something or another and revisit a few ideas. At one point, we had the idea of starting a baby gear company, of baby gear that looks great in your home. And that kind of fell through the cracks. But it wasn't until I left my job and she had moved on to consulting in the beauty space that we really took a look at the category and kind of also a look at our showers and thought, wait a minute, why am I spending $40 on this salon shampoo that you're telling me is like dirty? It's not clean. So I'm not going to use it on my kids, or my partner's hair doesn't deserve it. It's too expensive. And so it was that insight of there's so many people that can relate to that fact of like wanting to hide your good stuff. But then at the same time, we kind of looked at the market and we just thought, there's all these brands out there. It's such a crowded space, but there wasn't really, it felt like they were clean brands, but they were really expensive. There were salon quality brands, but they weren't truly clean. And then the few truly clean but less expensive brands just didn't meet our performance expectations. It wasn't the fancy, the elevated performance that we wanted. And so it was at that point where we're like, I think we have something here. And we concepted the brand, we married all of those priorities, and essentially Odele was born.
Amazing. I wanted to just talk about this concept of you had a lot of ideas before, and this is the one that you decided to go with. And that just is really interesting to me because I feel like a lot of the people, the stage that they're at who listen to the podcast, they've had a lot of ideas too. And it's like, you don't know when is the right time, like in your life and when you're in a place where you can step out of a full-time job and go fully into entrepreneurship. And also when the idea is right. And I'm just interested in like how you kind of thought about that and came to that decision of, yeah, I'm going to quit my day job and start this thing.
Sure. I mean, that's a good question. It's so hard to answer because it's easy in retrospect to see it, but I think timing. I mean, it's like your own tolerance for taking risks, and it's timing. And so I was fortunate to be in a position where I could take the time with zero plan. Right, I had no plan when I left my job, but a lot of people don't have that luxury, and I think it's also just the bias for action. Like you're never going to feel completely ready to take that leap. But I think when does it get to be that what you feel is like a bigger, um, I think for my career, backing up again, for my career, it was very clear to me that I kind of had taken from it what I wanted to get. And it was like the scales had tilted in which I'm now giving so much more than I'm receiving. And so for me, it felt like it was a low risk to take this kind of chance on myself. It was an investment of time. And at the end of it, I believe that like what I would have learned from taking that risk, even if I would have failed, would get me to a better place no matter what, where if I was going to sell myself into that next company to work for and add value, the experience of having tried this, even if it was unsuccessful, felt like it still felt like a game to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like I have also had lots of ideas and I've, thrown spaghetti against the wall a little bit and just trying to like figure out like what works. And it sounds like such a cliche and I'm cringing as I say it, but like truly there are no failures, there are only lessons. Like I really do feel like everything that I've done has been a crash course in some part of some like life lesson I needed to learn, some like business. I picked up some business acumen that I didn't have before. I've made connections that I will need down the track, like all of that. If it like feels right, it might not be the thing that like catapults you to like some wild success, but it's going to be like a step on the journey in the right way. If it like, yeah.
100%. It will always, add value in helping you to get where you're eventually going to be, even if you can't really see that at the time. So I completely agree.
Once you felt comfortable that this was going to be a good business idea, what were kind of the next steps that you took to get things off the ground, like create a product and get it out into the world?
Sure. I mean, well, that's the thing, right? It's like there are so many ideas out there. It's like the taking action that really makes a difference. And so we pressure test it. We came up with like every way that we could possibly fail to make sure that we still believed in it. And like we're kind of our own toughest critics. So like that we could still sell this to ourselves. Right. And so I think like we kept on, at the end of the day, we really believed that this is like this filled this white space. If we got it out there on shelf, like it would be disruptive. And we I should mention my third partner, Shannon, she was the operations of it all. And so her and Britta had met at one stage along their career path. And so with the three of us, we really believed that we could do it. We could come up with this brand, we could pitch it, we could sell it, we could, we had now the expertise to actually get it on shelf, and so you just start taking like one step at a time, and that first step leads to the next one. We're really lucky that we live in Minneapolis. It's like a little incubator for beauty. There's a lot of resources right in our backyard. And so it's just, it's talking to people, getting their reactions. So much about this journey involves things that we've never done before. So, so finding out, what we need, how we can do it smart, what we don't need. A lot of questions, a lot of information gathering to get it going.
You spoke about the different co-founders that you have. How are you guys divvying up, like who looks after what within the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very fluid this first year, because everyone's just has a willingness to step in like where needed, and so we really held hands at the beginning, scrutinizing every step. Really valuing each other's perspectives along the way because we each brought like this different point of view, and respected that and trusted that other person's point of view, right? So I'd say now it's kind of more on like the brand building, awareness, sales falls in my arena, managing like the top level finance, investor, banking relationships, is with Britta, and overall like long-term vision strategy and making sure it's financially viable. And then operations, manufacturing, lies with Shannon.
How have you been funding the business so far?
We did a small raise at the beginning and haven't had to raise again since. And so, we're really, we've taken a loan out from the bank, and we're trying, we were profitable within the first 6 months. And so we have really measured investment in terms of like what we can spend on marketing, wanting to make sure we protect the most value is like in the goop itself, right? We really believe that kind of trying it is the best form. Trying it is buying it, right? And so just very measured in terms of where we invest, and leaning into kind of the slow, responsible, steady growth, for a long term, for the long term, just benefit of not growing too fast.
There's a company that I only just heard of recently called Calm Fund, I think. And their whole kind of investment thesis is around investing in profitable companies, and calm growth is there.
Oh,
You can't,
sure.
listeners can't hear me. I'm doing like quote marks.
Yeah.
But because I don't think any like actual company growth is calm if you're if you're like the founder. But and I just think it's really interesting, and quite a few people that I've spoken to on the podcast and just like in my network recently have been bringing up the book Profit First, which has been around forever, but I feel like is having like a little bit of a resurgence with people pushing back against the growth at all costs, crazy like valuation, big VC money approach to starting a business. I just feel like there's like this interesting like mood shift at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you look, we launched this thing right before the pandemic, right? And so, and we're all moms. We needed this, it's funny to say, like, we started this to have kind of be our own boss, have things happen on your own terms, because you're basically having another child when you start a company. Like, you're never not thinking about it. But that, we've talked a lot about what that would feel like to take on that kind of money at this point, and like it would add a lot of stress. And so just to be able, we're lucky that our investors are very empowering and trust, friends and family. And so um there's certainly a time for it, but we haven't felt like it's been a necessary time for it just yet. So
When you first launched, what was the launch strategy? Were you D2C through the website? Did you find a retail partner? Like, how did you go about getting things into the world?
yeah, we definitely needed math to realize some efficiencies to keep the price point low, which is such an important part of our equation, is that value of the price per ounce. And so, and frankly, like shipping is so expensive, and we've got this huge bulky product, right? So we're still navigating like what is that right equation for D2C, and that's where a lot of like our trial and errors coming in. But we approached retailers, and so knowing that we needed that wider distribution to realize some efficiencies in cost and pricing for our bottles and et cetera.
When you approach retailers, were you taking a like a product deck to them? Were you taking a finished sample in the final packaging? Like, what did that look like? When is the right time to approach retailers if you want to launch with someone?
Sure. I guess, it depends on your brand, right? And like if you've already started and learned, we did not have a product when we approached retailers. We had a product in development. And so we had a strategy, we had a opinion on this is the white space we're filling. Here's why we think it's going to be incremental to this category. Here's what we're addressing that the current assortment doesn't show. And here are the items that we recommend. And so they were all very research based in an attempt to simplify, for we thought so much about like who is our target market? Who are we selling to? In this case, we were for the first time in my life, it was for me, as
Yeah.
opposed to thinking about so that felt kind of easy. And so we did a lot of research, like what does the population look like in terms of hair type and texture? What are the key benefits that those hair type and textures seek? And what has to be true about this brand? And, we're like, it has to be derm tested. It has to meet like the leading clean standards. We're going to use 100% natural fragrance. And then we made really simple, clear differences between each regimen. So there's no kind of confusion at shelf when the consumer is shopping. It's really clear and easy to pick something up and be like, oh, yeah, this one's for me. This is speaking to me. Because that was our most powerful form of discovery, was literally at shelf, people just happening to walk by. And so that's what we brought to the buyer. And I think, we would never have brought that had we not had the confidence to be able to execute on it. So we had obviously already known, here's our partner for manufacturing. We know the suppliers needed to support the packaging. We know how to, fulfill orders. And we know that this can be a profitable business, if and when we are to get picked up.
And so when you were kind of reaching out to these buyers and category managers, was it cold outreach? Did you have existing relationships? I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, hang on, no one's responding to my email. Like, how am I meant to go about doing this? Did you use like an agent or a broker in that respect? How did you go about actually getting the attention?
We do have a broker now. At the time, we did not. And my partners had been at a hair care company prior to founding Odele. And so there was some familiarity with that buying team. And so I think that gave us a lot of credibility out of the gates. They're no longer with that company, but there's the track record of having had some experience of knowing what it takes.
Where can people listening find Odele now? Like if they want to try the product, where can they go?
Sure. We're on Target.com, and we are on OdeleBeauty.com. So we're exclusive with Target currently. Yeah.
And the last question that I ask everyone to come on the show is to share a resource. It could be literally a tool that you use to run the business, some kind of software. It could be a book that you've loved, something that's kind of helped move you and move the business along to where you are today.
Sure. I think honestly, I would say your network. Like it's incredible just kind of sharing, bringing people along on your journey, sharing like what you're going through, what you are curious about. Cause like I said, there's so many aspects of this that you've never done. And I would say that contractors, right? Like don't I think we've had some incredible the whole first year and a half, we had zero employees. It was just the three of us wearing multiple hats. And we had found some incredible partnerships through contractors there's just so many people out there doing their own thing with the history of incredible experience, whether it's companies or publishers or PR or designers that are kind of out on their own. And they have been invaluable to me along the way in helping spread the word, get the word out there, and really get some incredible expertise that we wouldn't otherwise have not been able to afford had it been in the form of a large agency for example.
How do you find those contractors? Is that one of those things where it's like just, leveraging your network to get recommendations and find the right people? Or is there somewhere that you went to kind of find people for a certain task or project?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it was definitely our network, my network. And I don't, it's, I'm in my early 40s when we launched this. I was almost there. And so it's really cool and impressive to look around your peer group and just see all that everyone has accomplished in their time. And so even if it doesn't feel like a direct connection, just saying, hey, do you know anyone who might be off on their own doing, helping with PR? Do you know anyone who's really good at web development? And every time I ask that, I get some incredible recommendations. And so I think LinkedIn is a good friend of mine, but now it's gotten harder, right? Where the incoming pitches and interest is it's a lot to sift through. So I would say taking advantage, don't be shy about asking questions within your own peer group and network, and you never know where it's going to lead.
That's great advice. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for your time and thank you for coming on the show today.
Yes, thank you for having me. It was really nice chatting.
Didn't you love that chat with Lindsay? She is an absolute force and so much great stuff there about getting into Target and creating a product that people actually want to buy, which is easier said than done. I hope you loved it. And if you did, please drop us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks, everyone. Chat to you next time.